Hey guys, this is page 4 and we're on topic 5 and these are the word problems. So this is going to be kind of the last section of your study guide. So here we have an area of a rectangle below is 42 inches squared. So I just put the 42 inches squared as the area, and what it's asking is to find the value of x. Okay, so first of all, I know that in order to find the area that I multiply both sides together. And, oh, good, I have the meaning of life there. That's great. When I FOIL this out, I'm going to get x squared plus 5x minus 24 equals 42. I'm going to keep rewriting. So I just brought the 42, I subtracted from both sides, and I have negative 66. And now I'm going to set this all equal to 0. So now I have to play the product sum game. So I'm going to multiply to get negative 66. And I'm going to add to get positive 5, rather. So I know I have 6 and 11 are the factors. And looks like the 6 is going to be negative, and 11 will be positive. Okay. Let's write this in factored form. So I have x plus 11 and x minus 6 equals 0. Set both factors to 0. X plus 11 is 0. So I know that x is equal to negative 11. On the left, then x minus 6 equals 0. So x has to equal 6. Okay, so there's all my work. So remember, x can't be negative because it has to be an actual value. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. So our solution, our x, which is exactly what they're asking, is 6 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and box that. Okay. So for number 34, I have a rectangle that is 5 feet less than its width. If the area of the rectangle is 84 square feet, find its dimensions. Okay, so it wants to find the dimensions. So I need to have really the length and the width. So I need the width and the length. So let's go ahead and define our variables rather. Let x be the width. And remember, the length is the other dimension we're trying to find. Well, the length is 5 feet less than its width. So I'm simply going to write x minus 5 to represent that length. Okay. So if I draw a picture of it, it could be something like this, right? X and then x minus 5. And I know that I have 84 as the area, so I could represent it like that as well. Okay. Multiply, because that's how I find the area. Wink and smile it out. So x squared minus 5x. And I'm going to go ahead, and subtract my 84 right there, okay? And I'm going to set that equal to 0 right here to save some steps. I'm going to factor out. I want to multiply to negative 84, and I want to add to negative 5. And I know that I have a good 7 times 12 here, and I have my 12 tables. And it looks like one has to be negative. The larger number has to be like negative. So negative 7, so rather positive 7 and negative 12. That works out. Write in factored form, x minus 12 times x plus 7. That's in factored form, equals 0. Set to both sides to 0. So now I'm going to save a step. X is equal to 12. X is equal to negative 7. It can't be negative because it's geometric. So its dimensions are, right? Well, x is 12, right? And then, well, if x is 12, then the length has to be 12 minus 5, which is 7. So the answer is 12 feet and 7 feet. Those are the two dimensions. Okay. Backside. So I'm going to skip ahead to 36. You are welcome to try 35. Go for it. I can tell you the answer if you want to know it. It's 36 inches squared. Now you can work backward and try to solve it. Okay, but let's do a consecutive integer. You're going to have one of these problems on the test. So find two consecutive positive integers. So they're positive, consecutive, so it goes like 1, 2, 3, such as the sum of their squares is 145. Okay, so we're looking for the two numbers. Okay, so let's define our variable. So I have let x equals the first number, and I'm going to use that number sign, but that I'm using it in my mind, that means positive integer. Now, if x is that first integer, then x plus 1 is the second one, okay? Notice it's consecutive. It's not like even or odd. Okay, so it says now the sum of their squares is 145. Okay, well, the sum of this first digit could be represented by x squared. And now I'm going to add the second number squared equals 145. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to my x squared, and then I have x plus 1 times x plus 1. I just want to point that out, right? I'm going to keep simplifying it. So when I FOIL this out, I'm going to get an x squared plus 2x plus 1. I'm going to combine like terms. I have 2x squared plus 2x, and then I'm going to subtract 145 from each side, so I end up with 144. On the negative side, set it equal to 0. I look at this and they're all even, so I'm going to factor out a 2. I'm sorry, there's not a lot of space here. Forgive me. I'm going to factor out a 2. I'm going to put that aside and divide. So if I factor out a 2, x squared divided by 2 is going to be x squared plus x minus, well, half of 144, I know is 72, equals 0. Okay. So now I still have my 2, and I'm going to do the product sum game. I want to multiply to negative 72 and add to 1. Okay, well, I think that that's just, maybe it has to be 1 away. So what about 8 and 9? I think I like that. 9 is going to be positive. 8 is negative. Okay. Factored form. X plus 9. X minus 8. And then setting it all equal to 0. So the first 2 does not equal 0, so that doesn't count. X equals negative 9. That doesn't count because it's a positive number. So the only possible solution that's positive is x equals 8 from this factor when I set it equal to 0. Okay, so 8 is x. Well, we need to find the two numbers, so the answers are 8 is the first number, and I'm just going to add 1 for the second number. Okay. Let's do maybe one projectile motion. Let's do the first one, 37. Okay, we got a tennis ball. I used to be on the tennis team. Maybe I'm Natalie. Found a tennis ball outside a tennis court. She picked it up, threw it over the fence into the court. Path of the ball, so she is standing here. She throws. She's got a fence. All right. Path of the ball can be represented by this is the equation. Find the maximum height. So again, I'm going to have to do something with the vertex. And then the time to reach the ground. So that means set to 0. Okay. So over here, and again, I did underline the two questions. So I'm going to use that x equals negative b over 2a, that axis of symmetry form, or how I can find my x value in the vertex. But I'm going to call it t, remember, because t is equal to x in this equation. So t equals, so maybe I should rewrite this here. Well, here, what's a? A is negative 16. And what is b equal to? So I'm just identifying my a, b, and c. My b is equal to 18. My c is 5. Okay. So back over here, I have to have negative b, so negative 18 over 2a. So I have 2 times a is negative 16. Remember, a lot of times you'll see a is negative 16 because of science. So now I have negative 18 over negative 32. I'm going to have a positive, and actually when I calculate it out, I'm going to get the decimal. And the decimal is actually 0.56. Okay, so that's the t. Don't forget, that's t. To make this easier to see, this is a 0. So I'm not going to write the 0. I just want to make it easier to read. Okay. So I want to plug this t back into the equation now. So h is equal to negative 16, and then I have t squared, which is 0.56, and I would definitely use a calculator, squared, plus 18 times 0.56 plus 5. And I used a calculator when I calculated this out, and when I got the answer, I got 10.06 feet. So remember, that is the height. That is basically solving for h, the highest of the vertex. So it's the h in the vertex. Okay. Now over here, I'm going to set this, because remember, anytime we see ground or river or the water, we know that that's 0 because it's at 0 feet. So negative 16t squared plus 18t plus 5 equals 0. T equals something. Well, let's look at this. How should we solve this? This is a quadratic formula, if I've ever seen one. So look at your notes. Make sure you remember what the quadratic formula is. I'm going to use it. So we have b, well, I wonder if I should write it down for you guys again. I'm just trying to think if, okay, we can do this. So, okay, I'm going to write negative 18, because remember I have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared. So remember, b is 18. So 18 squared minus 4. And then I have my a. Well, what's my a? Negative 16 times my c, 5. And I'm not going to put it over my my bottom yet, okay, the denominator yet, okay, my 2a. I'm not going to do it yet because I want to find out my top first, my numerator. So I have negative 18. And then when I solve all of this, I got 18 squared. And I did use a calculator, and I'm going to end up with 644. Okay, so now when I divide this out, I ended up putting this over. Now I'm going to put it over 2a, which 2a is going to equal 2 times negative 16. So I'm going to erase it, and I'm just going to write it out now. Negative 32. Okay. So what I did is I used a calculator to find the square root of 644, and then I added negative 18 to it, and I subtracted it from negative 18 and divided by 32. So I did the calculation by using the square root sign. Okay. When you solve both of these out, you're going to get well, you're going to get a negative number. I just want you to know that, 0.23. But that can't be the correct answer because we can't have negative time. And we're also going to get 1.36. So this is time. So the answer that you're going to want is t is equal to 1.36 seconds. Okay, that was a whopper. Okay, so let's look at 30. Oh, let's look at 40, actually. So 40 is going to be quadratic regression. And again, you can use Desmos on this. So we have a pistol that is discharged in the air. The height and the time is recorded. Use an equation for the curve of S fit. Find the height after 10 seconds. Okay. So time after 10. So you can kind of keep going here if you wanted to. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Doesn't really matter. But 10 is what we want to know what the height is going to be. So I am going to bring up my Desmos. And I'm going to try a new graph, insert table, and 1, 2, and you can keep on adding those numbers. It'll actually add it for you if it's just going up by 1. But I only have values up to 4, so. Okay, so now I have 0 is 3. 1 is 187. 2 is 339. 3, 4, 5, 9. 4 is 547. Okay. And then 2, so it says the curve of best fit. So remember, I want to use the quadratic. Okay, so I'm going to do y1 is about, because this we're finding the best fit. Okay. A x squared 1 plus b x 1 plus c. Okay, now it should tell me my parameters. Okay, so it says negative 16, 200, and c is 3. Okay, so I'm going to write that use that as my equation. Y equals negative 16x squared, that's my a, plus 200, that x, that's my b, plus 3 is my c. Okay. Now I'm just going to plug in. And what am I plugging in? Well, I'm plugging in 10, because that is my time. Okay? So I have negative 16 t squared plus 200 times 10, sorry, that was 10, plus 3. And when I calculated it out, and I did use a calculator, I got y is equal to 403 feet. Okay. We are done. Good luck.